First this morning, Pauline Hanson burst onto the political scene 11 years ago as the Liberal candidate for Oxley.
In 1997, she founded the controversial One Nation Party, sparking violent protests around the country.
But in 2003, Australians were shocked when Pauline was jailed for electoral fraud. The former One Nation leader spent 11 weeks in prison before the conviction was overturned.
And after all that, Pauline Hanson still wants to run for federal parliament. She's just unveiled the new Pauline's United Australia Party, and she joins us now. Good morning to you, Pauline.
Good morning, Lisa. Good morning, Carl.
Good morning, Pauline.
I guess the question everybody wants to know is why, or the answer anyway.
Well, call it the Aussie spirit, laced with a bit of integrity and determination.
Pauline, now your opponents say, and you would have heard this before, but they say you have got absolutely no chance. Is this the last throw of the dice for you?
I wouldn't say I've got no chance, Carl. Actually, I've travelled Queensland quite extensively over the past 6 months. There is tremendous support from people from outback Australia, people, farmers, people, just Aussie battlers, people who feel they've been forgotten by the major political parties. And they're wanting someone else to vote for rather than the Liberal or the Labor Party or for the Greens or the Democrats for that matter. They're so disillusioned, and so they're looking at me.
Pauline, the last time you ran for the Queensland Senate, you pocketed close to $200,000 in electoral funding. If you don't make it into the Senate this time, will you donate that money to charity?
You know, Lisa, I am fed up to the back teeth about this being raised about electoral funding. Go and ask the Liberal Party about the $17 million that they made at the last election, the Labor Party the $15 million. Now, I'm not going to keep answering this question all the time. Go and ask the political parties about the electoral funding that they make. I have and always stood on my dig about the issues that I've fought for the Australian people, and I'm standing for politics who are going to represent them in the Senate. Now, you can move on to your next question because I'm not answering that question anymore. I'm fed up with it.
What about if you just cover the costs of your campaign and donate the rest to charity?
Carl, as I said to you, this is a political party that I am forming, that I am registering, the same as the Liberal Party, the National Party, the Labor and the Democrats, all right? Now, this is in
Pauline,
legislation,
they get in, though,
funding,
Pauline. They get in.
They get in. Carl, everyone who stands for the election who gets over 4% of the vote gets electoral funding. That's legislation.
Pauline,
you go and question. You ask the Prime Minister about what he gets next time he's on your program.
Did they get into Parliament, Pauline?
I've been into Parliament as well. Have you forgotten that One Nation actually won 11 seats in the Queensland State Parliament, won a Senate seat in 1998, won 3 Senate seats in New South Wales, and have won another 3 seats in the Parliament in 2001. Now, don't just wipe me out and say it's all about electoral funding. There's more to it than that, Lisa.
Pauline, how much... Obviously, people can lodge objections to your new party. How much support do you think you're going to get from Muslim Australians?
Well, you know, Carl, I think that if Muslim women realise how they've been treated, you know, I probably would get a lot of support. Maybe if we actually look at the female genital mutilation that happens to young girls in this country, I think it's absolutely atrocious. It's disgusting. If people want to live by these ways, then go back to the Muslim countries. And I think that this is Australia. You know, I'm very discriminated against in my own country, where Christmas carols aren't sung in our schools or Christmas carols played in our shopping centres. So, you know, I think that it's about time Australians stood up. Let's have a look at what's happened in other countries around the world. England, Germany, France, the Netherlands.
Let's lay it on the line here. You want to keep Muslims out of this country?
I want a moratorium put on the number of Muslims coming into Australia.
You're not playing the race card again, are you, Pauline?
We need to have a good look at this. Sorry?
You're not playing the race card again, are you?
Carl, I think you better get out from behind your desk and go and talk to many Australians, especially when have you been to Bankstown? You have the community up in arms.
I went there 2 weeks ago and emceed a function. I've been out there many times,
and you've
Pauline.
got a Muslim school that is being built there,
and there are a lot
which
of good
people
Muslim
are
Australians as
actually
well,
irate
Pauline.
about it.
So you just want to say, all right, you're not coming into this country, off you go. You're not coming into this country, and anyone that's here, you're basically being...
Carl, I think people have a concern. I think people have a right to be very concerned about this because of the terrorist
So they're all
attacks
terrorists,
that
are they?
throughout the world.
Are all Muslims terrorists?
With 9/11 and with the Bali bombings, with actually Madrid, with England, what's happened in England, the Glasgow bombings, something like that. And the government has just called on more of a security, looking after our security in Australia.
Okay, Pauline.
What we have to look at here is that Australia is not going to change, and I'm very concerned about our way of life, our future being changed. I have every right to say that, and I'm sick of these people coming out here and saying that our girls are like the meat market, or you have the Bible that's urinated on. So am I supposed to just forget about it? Am I supposed to be tolerant?
It's not all Muslims that are doing that, Pauline. I think that's part of the problem. Pauline, just moving on. If it was a hung
Sorry,
parliament...
I didn't hear that, Lisa.
I just said I'm moving on.
I didn't hear what you said then.
I said I'm moving on.
Yes.
Okay, if it was a hung parliament and you do get into parliament and you had to throw your weight behind the coalition or the ALP, which one would it be?
No, wouldn't you see? I'm not supporting either political party. I think it's up to the people of Australia to decide who they want to put in the lower house. The Senate is there to look at any legislation that's put forward. I will look at that legislation and decide, is it in the best interest for Australia and the Australian people, with honesty and the integrity that I have. Now, I don't have to support anyone. It is up to the public to decide who they want to vote for. But I'll suggest to people, don't give them the balance of power in the upper house to just ramrod legislation through. And we've seen what's happened. And the immigration is not my only issue. I've spoken about the privatisation of water, the imports, the destruction of our industry and manufacturing. Look at rural and regional Australia, what's happened to our farmers. We've seen cheap imports coming from overseas, and yet we don't stand up and say enough is enough. So there's a lot more issues. And if you have a look at my maiden speech, the Prime Minister has picked up all of my issues that I spoke in the maiden speech. So don't just say I'm simplistic and I don't know what I'm talking about. And they said the same about the Aboriginal issue. But the Prime Minister actually abolished ADSIC, and that was in my maiden speech and part of my policy platform.
Pauline, you got a favourite Elvis song?
Sorry?
Have you got a favourite Elvis song?
I didn't hear you. Have I got a... Yes, Return to Sender.
You want to give us a line of it?
Definitely not, Carl. I know my limitations and it's not singing.
All right.
It mightn't be a bad note to finish on, Pauline.
Yeah.
Or maybe it will be.
You are colourful. Thank you, Pauline. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Carl.
Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.